Have you ever felt that strange frustration of working endlessly, saving every month, and still looking at your account balance thinking, seriously, only this? It's as if all your effort only keeps you from sinking, yet the number never grows the way you imagined. This is the reality for almost everyone who starts building wealth from zero. You follow every rule, you cut expenses, you try to stay organized, you invest consistently. But when you check your statement, the progress looks microscopic. The numbers rise slowly, so slowly that they seem stuck. It creates the feeling that the whole system was designed to drain you before you ever see results. But the truth is different. This early slowness isn't a flaw. It's exactly how the process works. Building wealth is like trying to push a car that's completely stopped. At first, you push with everything you have and it only moves a few inches. But once it gains momentum, that same effort takes it much farther. Money works the same way. People love to repeat the phrase, over time, money starts working for you. What they never explain is when that actually happens and why the results only speed up after a long period. There's no magic switch that changes everything overnight. Growth happens in stages, each one changing your relationship with money. A simple way to understand this is through the well-known rule of 72, which shows how long it takes for your money to double depending on the return rate. At a 12% annual return, for example, it doubles in roughly 6 years, meaning patience isn't optional, it's mathematically required. The first stage is the toughest. It's when everything depends solely on your effort. You save, invest, organize, and the returns look ridiculously small. You see your balance increase by $200 one month, $300 the next, and think, is that really all my effort created? And this is exactly where most people quit. Not because investing doesn't work, but because the results take longer than their patience can handle. Let's look at real numbers. Someone with $10,000 invested at 12% per year earns about $2,200 in 12 months. It feels small, especially compared to the effort required to save that initial amount. But this stage is not about big gains. It's about building the foundation. And without a foundation, nothing stands. At the beginning, you are the engine of your wealth. You put in the energy. You contribute every dollar. You hold everything together. The money isn't strong enough to sustain itself yet. You deposit $500 a month, $6,000 a year, and it grows but not enough to excite you, until slowly something shifts. There is no specific day, no alert, but eventually a moment arrives when your money begins generating returns on its own. It's as if that heavy car finally gained traction, and from that moment on, time becomes your greatest ally. Here comes the first major turning point, the moment when your investment returns become larger than the total amount you contribute in a year. Before that, you are the one pushing your wealth forward. After that, the money begins doing the pushing. At first, everything is manual. You deposit month after month, and almost all the growth comes from your pocket. The returns exist but are too small to make a real difference. Over time, however, your wealth grows large enough that the return stops being just a bonus. It becomes meaningful. More specifically, it becomes 51% of your total annual growth. Picture this. You've built $51,000. A 12% return produces around $6,020 in a year. Now compare that to your contributions. $6,000 annually, $500 per month. This means your money has officially surpassed your own effort. And this is where everything changes. From that point on, your wealth grows even during months when you add nothing. It's not financial independence yet, but it's the first time your money behaves like a system that doesn't depend on your income. Before, if your salary stopped, everything froze. Now, even if you do nothing, your wealth keeps moving. That alone creates a huge sense of security. Growth becomes more predictable. Risk decreases. You feel more in control. It feels strange at first. You're making the same contributions, but your wealth grows differently, as if someone else were pushing with you. Then comes the second turning point, the moment when your investments begin generating the same amount you earn from working in an entire year. At first, that seems unreachable, but when you remain consistent, without stopping contributions, without interrupting what works and letting time do its job, this impossible milestone becomes inevitable. Imagine someone earning $4,000 per month, $48,000 per year, with $400,000 invested at 12% annually. Their money now produces the same $48,000 in 12 months. In other words, Half of the income comes from your work. The other half comes from your wealth. This changes everything. Your wealth stops being a static number and becomes a second income source. Quiet, stable, and automatic. A side job that doesn't ask for raises, doesn't complain, and never burns out. Each year it grows on its own. It's like every dollar you invested gives birth to new dollars that also start working for you. This is where consistency proves its value. Your wealth doesn't only produce income, it grows on top of that income. And when this happens, even your relationship with your job shifts. Work stops being desperation and becomes a choice. The fear of losing your job weakens because you're no longer living on the edge. You now have room, space to breathe, you have options. And options are the essence of freedom. If work becomes toxic, you can walk away without collapsing your life. If you need time to rest, you can take it without guilt. If a project makes no sense, you don't need to accept it just to pay bills. Problems still exist. No one lives in a perfect world, but you no longer face everything with that crushing urgency. There's a quiet calm that follows people who reach this stage. It's not a celebration. It's not the cliché, "I made it." It's something softer. The realization that you've regained control of your time. Your wealth starts supporting you without noise, without showing off, and without forcing you to become someone else. And this is a level of freedom far more powerful than any fantasy of being a millionaire. It's not about buying everything. It's about choosing how to live your day. Your salary stops owning your life. You make decisions with clarity. You plan things that once felt distant. And the interesting part? This feeling comes before full financial independence. You don't need millions. You simply need your money to work as effectively as you do. Now the third turning point. This is when financial freedom stops being a dream and becomes something real. It's when the wealth you've built can cover your living expenses using a safe withdrawal rate, around 4% to 5% per year. At this stage, everything transforms. You no longer work because you have to. You work because you choose to. Take someone with $250,000 invested and withdrawing 4% a year. That produces around $50,000 annually. It's basically a full-time income, except you don't trade hours to earn it. And the best part, the principle stays intact. Growing, working, expanding. Here, money finally assumes the role your effort used to play. And this isn't that outdated idea of retirement. It's not the end of the road, it's the beginning of a new one. A stage where working is optional, not a necessity. The pressure fades away. Your decisions revolve around how you want to use your time, not how much you'll earn. Another important detail. Even if you stop investing completely, your wealth continues to grow. Compound interest reaches full power. Money becomes a self-expanding system. This is the point where growth skyrockets. What once took years now happens faster and faster. Your wealth starts doubling in shorter intervals. 400K, 800K, 800K, 1M, 1M, 2M. $1 million earning 12% doubles in about 6 years, even with no new contributions. At the beginning, this sounds like fiction, but eventually you realize it's just math being math. When your wealth grows faster than you can spend it, the process stops being a straight line and becomes an accelerating curve. This is the true meaning of wealth. It's not working yourself to exhaustion. It's not saving just for the sake of saving. It's reaching the point where your assets handle the heavy lifting and you reclaim the one thing that has always been your greatest asset: time. Time stops being traded for money. Time becomes lived, and it doesn't matter whether you reach this point in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or later. The goal isn't arriving early. It's not stopping until you arrive. The most common mistake is quitting right before everything begins to accelerate. In the beginning, investing is slow, tiring, and even discouraging. You deposit money, watch the numbers rise a little, and think, does this even make a difference? It does, but only if you continue long enough for compound interest to perform its magic. This reminds us of the story of Ronald Read, a janitor and gas station attendant in the US. He never earned a high salary or had an elite education. He seemed like the last person who would ever be called an investor. But he had something rare: persistence. He invested small amounts in solid companies and allowed time to do the heavy lifting. He didn't sell out of fear. He didn't try to predict the market. He simply didn't stop. When he died in 2014, his family discovered that he had accumulated $8 million. The secret: he stayed in the game long enough for compounding to take over. The first years are slow. The final years are extraordinary. Some people say, but he didn't even enjoy it. It doesn't matter. He lived the way he wanted and still donated almost everything. Just to give you perspective, $8 million at a 10% return generates more than $53,000 per month. He could have stopped working at any moment, but he kept going because he wanted to, not because he needed to. So if you're in that exhausting early stage, the one that requires discipline and patience, don't stop. It won't last forever. There comes a time when, after so much consistency, everything begins to flow. Your wealth accelerates, and you finally understand that the slow beginning was the foundation of all growth. The turning point isn't magic. It's math working quietly until it looks like magic. In the end, financial freedom isn't about speed, it's about not giving up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.